So the first swimmers that we're looking at here is Jan Frodeno and Sam Appleton. So arguably two of the best swimmers there are in triathlon. And this is a small section of the race here, but the first thing I want to cover here is the sighting. Now, if you look at the yellow cap, which is Sam Appleton, they must be leading into a buoy here because Sam Appleton's sighting pretty much every single stroke. And there's two things that I found interesting about this. So first of all, let's have a look at how he's sighting. So when we're swimming freestyle, we want to make sure that we're going straight, because you can save up to 5, 10, even like 15% of the distance that you're swimming if you just swim straight instead of going side to side or going off course. Now, the best way to do that is to use the sight and breathe method when you are swimming. And so all that is basically when you are looking forwards, so you want to look up as one arm's coming over the water. So with Sam here, all right, he looks up when his right arm comes over, and he gets almost sort of crocodile eyes just above the water. Gets a look at where he's going, so eyes just up enough to see the buoy or whatever landmark you're looking for. And then on the next stroke, he turns his head to the side and breathes, and then goes back down. So that's sight and breathe. So sight on one stroke, breathe on the other. And the reason this is so important to get is you can save so much energy when you do it, because you don't lose your rhythm and you're not lifting up super high. So in our, one of our stroke analysis members that I was working with recently sent a video of his open water swimming, and he was lifting up to like almost his chest. It was coming way up out of the water, and his legs were dropping right down when he was sighting. And so what we're working on is just getting him to learn this sight and breathe method, because that way you can just save so much effort, and you don't lose that rhythm, you don't lose your flow, and you keep that body position nice and high as well. So that's the first thing. Now, the other thing I found interesting here too was that, right, Frodeno's on the left of him and he's breathing to the right. He's looking at Sam when he's swimming. And you'll see that Appleton, so Sam, he's sighting every stroke, or almost every stroke here. Frodeno's not. So my guess is here, he knows that Sam is looking at where they're going. And so all Frodeno's trying to do here is just to make sure he stays like just next to him. He doesn't sight, so he's saving a little bit of energy there, because ideally we don't want to sight, but it's necessary. So we want to sight as much as needed to stay straight. But he's just keeping his head down for the most part and just making sure that he stays on path or on course with Sam there. So he's conserving a little bit of energy that way, because he knows that Sam is swimming fairly straight. Then he does take a couple of sights there. So he looks up there and then goes back. He makes sure that he's on course, but he just gets that head back down. So if you know the swimmer next to you is pretty good at staying on course, then you could essentially not sight as much. But you want to sort of know the person next to you, or know that they're going to be swimming fairly straight. So that's the first thing. Now, the other thing I want to show you here too is this sort of style, and we see this a lot in whether it's elite open water swimmers or it's triathletes. This sort of style, it's quite like a galloping or a loping sort of freestyle as well. So I think we get a good above water shot here. Okay, have a look at this. So if we zoom in, right, with Sam on the right hand side, this is Sam Appleton, have a look at like how he's bouncing quite a bit in the stroke. And I'll just slow this down. So you see sight and then breathe. And see there, he almost kind of goes fully submerged for a moment. So after he takes that sight, he goes like a fair way under the water, and then he bounces back up. Now, and you even get like, if you look at Frodeno here, right, he does a similar thing. Let's play that through. So he sights, turns, and he's under the water a bit, and then he bounces back up. So what you can sometimes do, particularly more so when you've got a wetsuit on, you can do it without, but it's definitely easier with a wetsuit, is that wetsuit provides some buoyancy. So it allows for kind of a more of that loping or like bouncing sort of freestyle stroke. So you can, the benefit there is that you get this like, all right, he sights with his right arm, presses up, lifts up the chest a little bit. Then he comes back over with that right arm, and he's like quite long on that side. He goes not quite completely under the water, but he goes that little bit deeper and just sort of presses on it, presses on it, presses on it. The wetsuit, the buoyancy of the lungs starts to lift him back up, and then he's back up on top of the water, as you can see. Now, the real benefit to that loping style is it's kind of, I think of it like a horse galloping, right? They kind of get like their torso or the upper part of their chest, right? That starts to, that sort of, it's like it lengthens and then shortens and lengthens and then shortens. And you see it, like it's quite evident here with the really good swimmers where they're sort of really like throwing themselves forward on every second stroke or on one side of their body. Now, if you have a look at this footage here, I think this is a good sort of comparison. These guys at the front here, so you got Patrick Lang and Braden Curry in the front. Let's just play this in normal speed. They've kind of got that slightly like, longer stroke on one side, shorter on the other. And then out the back, we've got Matt Hansen, right? Now, the biggest difference I can see here is he seems to be just sort of, I'd say in terms of posture, looks a little bit different, but also not quite long enough, at least on one side of his body. So you'll see that it's just left, right, left, right, left, right. On one side, he's not sort of longer, lengthening through the chest and the torso through the shoulder, and then coming back on the other side. Whereas these guys out the front, they tend to be a little bit more open through the chest. So that's probably what I'd be looking to develop a bit if I were him. Now, look, that might not be the only thing. You could certainly still be a very good swimmer with that sort of style that he's got. You think of someone like Ariane Titmus, for example. She's got that more even and more balanced stroke. So obviously the catch is super important there and other things. But I find that for the most part, at the professional triathlon level, most of these guys probably want to be that little bit more open through the chest and longer on one side of the body. Now, the other footage that is pretty good here is, see it here, we got Jocelyn Macaulay. So this was a really nice stroke. Now, it was pretty calm conditions when they were racing, so a little bit of chop on the water, but for the most part, it's almost like a pool. Now, when it's almost like a pool, it can lead to slightly more of a pool stroke, right? So that's where, all right, the hand can sort of come over the top of the water, stay fairly close to the water. She's still recovering sort of nice and openly. So she's not super close to the body here. She's just kind of swinging that hand around, which is good. She can still get that breath fairly low. Like you can see half the head in, half the head out. And with that entry, it's really good. So fair extension out the front, but she's still just going in fingers first or thumb first, which is fine as well. And then on the other side, coming over the top, similar sort of recovery on that left-hand side. So the elbow's pointing up to the sky, the armpit is out of the water, or the shoulder's out of the water, and that hand is swinging around. And then similar thing, like fingers first entry, and we get this nice triangle shape upon entry. And so she's able to keep a really nice cadence here and just keep it ticking over. It's like clockwork. And I haven't got my watches. I'm not sure what her cadence is, but my guess is it's probably up around like the high 80s, if not low 90s probably. So it's looks really good. It's a really nice stroke that she's got there. And I think this is her as well coming up to one part of the swim. And you can actually see that recovery from the front. Nice sighting, so you can see those crocodile eyes again. And that's that wider swing of the hand and then coming through. And the other thing that's kind of good to look at too, see how she's pretty relaxed through the hand and through the forearm. So with your recovery, it's called recovery because we should be somewhat recovering over the top. Doesn't mean that we should be just like sloppy and relaxed, but you'll typically see the hand and the forearm just like pretty relaxed as you're coming through that middle part, because the effort's going to come from your, almost like your deltoid and a little bit of like your elbow as you're coming through there. So you can really see it nicely with her there. So thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please hit the subscribe button. As of recording this, we're just below 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you do enjoy this sort of stuff, hit the subscribe button and please share this video with anyone that you know is looking to improve their swimming. Thanks for watching. See you next week.